What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Johan Bester, director and founder of Charisma Performing Arts, where we are all about the human voice. Now, in this video series called Choir Matters, I'm going to talk specifically to choir directors. And I know I work with many and have worked with many amateur choirs and professional choirs, but I'm mainly focusing on amateur choirs, which is most choirs, right? I mean, school choirs, community choirs, church choirs, even really good regional choirs, university choirs are all actually amateur choirs in the sense that the singers don't get paid to sing. Although there are also, we must make the distinction, there are also many amateur choirs who perform at a professional level. So I'm more aiming this at amateur choirs that are not on that level. So not university choirs or vocal ensembles who do, recordings all the time and are world class or whatever. But how to create and sustain a sustainable choir culture. That's what I'm doing this series for. That's who I'm doing this series for. So this is episode 4, and this is all about how to have a successful rehearsal. Now, you might be one of those people who go, yeah, actually, not all my rehearsals are equally successful. I struggle to control my singers. I struggle to know what to do in a rehearsal. Or you might be someone who say, no, I've got this all down. I think it works well. But whichever camp you're in, I'd like you to just listen today and see if the things that I'm going to point out won't help you to be even more successful in your rehearsals. So, point number 1 is planning. Now, obviously, as the choir director, the planning of the rehearsal is up to you. Nobody else, not your accompanist, not your choir administrator, not the singers. It is your responsibility to plan. What are the kinds of things that we need to plan? Number 1, I think you must plan the setup in your rehearsal room. Now, we don't all have similar rehearsal rooms. I've been to the United States where most schools and colleges and so on have a beautiful choir room. It is built with tiered seating. It is large enough for a choir, etc., and that's beautiful. But in many other parts of the world, for instance, like here in South Africa, most school choirs rehearse in their school hall, which has pros and cons. But whatever room you're in, plan the setup for your rehearsal. And what I like to do with my choirs is just change it up every now and again. You must decide about things like, am I going to have my singers sit in chairs in their choir formation? Or for this rehearsal, are they going to be on the choir risers or the choir benches? Or are they going to be on the chairs for a part of the rehearsal and on the choir benches for a part of the rehearsal? But you need to plan that beforehand, because whoever helps you set up the room, or if you have to do the setup, it has to be done beforehand. It's not great. It's not a great start to your rehearsal if once your singers start coming in for the rehearsal, you are now there scrambling to move things around or whatever. So plan it, set it up the way you want to. Is it going to be a circle? Sometimes I rehearse my singers in one big circle or 2 big circles or 3 circles, 1 for each voice group. Change it up. It's very good for the singers. Excuse me, it helps them to concentrate more. It keeps it fresh for them, not always just the same old, especially with children. Mix it up. So plan that, plan the setup. Second thing you need to plan is the structure of your rehearsal. Right? Like, how much time am I going to spend on technical work, technical development of my singer's skill? Which repertoire am I going to work on in this rehearsal? Am I going to have a break in the rehearsal? If your rehearsal is only 60 minutes, no break. If it's 90 minutes and they are primary school age children, then maybe a 5-minute break. If it's a 2 or 2.5 hour rehearsal, maybe there's a 15 or 20-minute break. Plan it. Okay, so which repertoire am I going to work on? Is there going to be a break? When and how long? And then within the sort of a subcategory of planning your repertoire, you must plan to have something challenging and something more attainable in each rehearsal. And you must plan to maybe work on something new versus polishing something that they already know a little bit. So that kind of planning. So point number 1, plan your rehearsal. Point number 2, I feel like I need to say this way too often. Many choir directors just don't do it. You must start every rehearsal with technical development. And please notice my choice of words. I don't call it a warm-up. I call it technical development. Vocal activation, so activation of this whole system that's going to produce the sound. And I'm developing my singer's technique in the first 10 or 15 minutes of a rehearsal, depending on their age and depending on how long the rehearsal is, right? It is your responsibility as the choir director to develop your singer's skill. Their auditory skill, their ability to hear accurately, to hear their own voice better, to hear the other voices better, and definitely also their muscular development, their skill development, so they can improve as a singer, right? So always start your rehearsal with that. That is crucial. And one thing that I found over the years is very helpful, especially with children, especially if their rehearsal is during a school day or straight after school, as it often is here in South Africa. You need to settle them down before you can start, before they are focused and you can really start placing a demand on their concentration. And the best way to do that, in my experience, is breathing activities. So you get them to inhale slowly through the nose, to hold the breath for a second or two, and to exhale slowly. You can do 3 or 4 of those, or you can do it more structured like I do. I do what I call a 4-4-4. Inhale for 4 counts, hold the breath for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, and I do it 4 times in a row. So it's literally hold 1, 2, and exhale 2, 3, 4, and again. And I count for them, and I breathe in with them. I sort of count through the inhale. If you do that 4 times, that settles them down. Another one I do is 4-6-8 or 4-6-10. So in for 4 through the nose, hold for 6, so hold the breath for longer, and then exhale for 8 or 10 counts. And when doing that, we don't do because then you lose the breath too quickly. We just do a hiss, because that way you can let out the breath more slowly, or your singers, and then they can easily do it for 8 or 10 counts. If you do these kinds of in and exhale activities for 2 minutes, it'll relax your choir. Because did you know, it's not just they relax, it's a physiological relaxation. Because did you know that we are designed, our bodies, so incredibly, that every time we exhale, every cell in our body relaxes. Try it. If you have never tried that, try that with your choir and let me know. Send me an email. My contact details are below this video, or just comment on the video and let us know how it worked for you. I promise you it works. I've tried it. It settles them down. So, plan, technical development first. Point number 3, the repertoire. In the beginning of my rehearsal, I will do something that demands more focus. That is harder work for them. So if it's a challenging piece that we're busy with, we'll do a little bit of that challenging piece. If it's a brand new piece of music that I want to introduce to my choir, I do that in the first part of the rehearsal. Why? Obviously, because they are more fresh. Now that they've done their breathing and they've settled down, they've done their technical development, now they are ready. Their instrument is ready. They are settled down. Now they can concentrate better than maybe 60 or 90 minutes later. So I do the more challenging stuff first. And then I always try to end on something that is fun for them to sing. It doesn't have to be a fun song, but something they enjoy singing, something that they can sing, or that's closer to ready, to performance ready, something that you've worked on a little bit. I just love it when, especially with children's choirs, I just love that emotion that they have when 10 minutes or 8 minutes before the end of the rehearsal, I say, okay, and now we're going to sing. And then they go, yay, that song, because they love that song. So you end them on an emotional high, singing something that maybe doesn't demand as much concentration, as much technical skill, etc. Something achievable, something they can already do. So you end your rehearsal on a high note. This is important. If you end not a high note like a G sharp, I mean a metaphorical high note. If you end on something challenging that they struggle with and they are tired, and you say, okay, well, you know what, that's enough, go home, we'll try again next week. That doesn't do well for their psychological connection and connotation to the rehearsal. Does that make sense? So yeah, do that, something fun, something high energy, something that gives them a sense of accomplishment. Point number 4 is discipline. Now, in this day and age, in many contexts and in many circles, the word discipline is a negative term, which I, for the life of me, cannot understand. If I don't have discipline in my life, with my finances, with how I use my time wisely, with how I plan my days, with how I eat and exercise, with my work, social life balance, family, friends, colleagues, stress, de-stress. If you are not disciplined in life, you will suffer. You will not accomplish all that you could have. You will not reach your potential. So discipline is not a negative word. The whole system of nature works in a discipline. The universe works in a discipline. There are rhythms. There are things that has to work the way that it does for things to be optimal and for things to work, right? So discipline in rehearsals are extremely important. And number 1, don't accept disruptive or undisciplined behavior from individuals. They should know exactly what the boundaries are, and the moment somebody oversteps the boundary, you must address it straight away. Don't accept it. Don't let it fester there in a corner. Address it. You will have your own ways. I have my own techniques, something like, George, stand up, please. Just in the middle of a rehearsal, if a child's being disruptive, I'll just point them out, say, stand up. Everybody gets quiet, and I go, are you done? Because what you're doing is disruptive, and you know it, and if you keep doing it, I'm going to send you out of my rehearsal. Are we good? Thank you, you can sit. That's it. It takes 20 seconds. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, okay, I better watch myself, and George hopefully will calm down. Don't accept disruptive behavior. Never raise your voice over a group of children. Not never, but try not to ever do it. Don't. You only address them, you only instruct them when they are quiet and they are respectful. Not quiet in a military way, just respectful. I say to my singers, I respect you, so when you talk to me, any one of you, I will listen. I won't talk to someone else at the same time as you are talking to me. And they go, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'm respecting you, now you respect me. When I speak, nobody else speaks. That's it. Easy. Even young children can understand that. And then you cultivate that. Don't accept the opposite. But don't raise your voice. Don't shout over a group of children. Have techniques like some people go pop, 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 pop. And then the choir goes pop, pop. Some go 3, 2, 1. And by 0, the kids know they should be quiet. Whatever. But don't shout and scream. Children are like tortoises or turtles. They pull their head into their shell while you scream, and they just don't hear any of it. Just bounces off. And then when you calm down, they will maybe stick out their head again. So you don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to shout and scream. Don't do that. You have to be consistent. If you address George for his disruptive behavior, you must do the same for Amanda or James. We all have members of our choirs, especially children, that we connect with more easily. that are easier to get on with and others that are more challenging. Doesn't matter. All of them must be treated consistently in the same manner by you when it comes to disciplining your rehearsal or having a disciplined rehearsal. If you have breaks, if your kids get a 5-minute break or 10-minute break, you agree. You tell them, okay, it is now 20 past. Your break is 10 minutes. We start at past. And with my choirs, if they are late, even if all of them are there but one is late, then I deduct that amount of time from their next break. You only have to do this once or twice, and then they get you. And then they are on time. This is very important. I teach my choirs, we enter the rehearsal space in an orderly way. I never allow kids to run into that hall or that room, shouting and making jokes and carrying on and being loud and bounce off the walls. Why not? Because it sets a tone. So we enter in an orderly fashion and we leave in an orderly fashion. We leave one row at a time, one voice group at a time or something. There's always an instruction. It's not just, okay, bye, and then everybody just runs and screams. No. Enter and exit in an orderly way. It really, really helps. The last point I want to make in today's video is the energy in the rehearsal, choir rehearsal, depends on you. You, even if you're tired, even if you had a rough day, even if you're a little bit sick, under the weather, but you have to have this rehearsal, you must practice to always have a consistent level of energy. If you are not energized, if you are not positive, if you don't speak in an energized and positive way, there's no way you're going to bring your choir along with you, especially if they are children, school-age children. The energy in the rehearsal depends on you. So you must take that responsibility very seriously. So yeah, 5 quick little points. Some things to think about, some very foundational things. There are a lot of other things to talk about. For instance, the things that I said now presupposes that you chose the correct repertoire for your choir, that you did the correct voice placement, that your choral setup is optimized, it's ideal, you set your choir up correctly. So there are lots of other things to explore, and we are going to explore that in this Choir Matter series. But I just wanted to finish by saying the biggest truth, the biggest takeaway from this little chat today is you must be prepared. You must plan. If you have a plan, it can always change during the rehearsal. So I always make a plan, and then sometimes during the rehearsal, maybe I thought we'll spend 20 minutes on this piece, but then the choir's really getting into it, something's clicking, they get excited, then I spend 10 or 15 minutes more on it. That's okay. It's okay to deviate from the plan because there are many variables. There can be lots of things that happen. There can be a thunderstorm, which freaks out the kids with, thunder and lightning and whatever. There are a number of variables that can make me change my plan. But if you don't have a plan, you're not going to be successful. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please, like I said, leave a comment, ask me some questions. Leave a comment that everybody can benefit from in this community. There are thousands and thousands of choir directors who are in the position that you and I are in. And let's have community. Let's share our experiences. Let's share tips. It'll be great. Thank you for spending the time with me. I appreciate it. And I hope that until we see each other again in another Choir Matters video, that you will remember that your voice matters.